Hi everyone, my name's Erin Kagel.
I'm Emily Barnes.
And I'm Ray. Welcome to the Intersectional Exchange Program. Today we'll be talking about the Teddy Perkins episode of Atlanta from the mind of Donald Glover.
Spoiler alerts for the Teddy Perkins episode of Atlanta. Follows Darius, who is going to get a piano from
With
Benny
colored
Hope.
keys.
With colored
Don't forget
keys,
the colored
specifically
keys.
colored keys, like pastel colored keys.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very adamant on getting this piano. It's a free piano for him. And the owner of the piano, Teddy Perkins, is a very, how would you describe him? What would you say is?
How you said earlier, robotic almost, kind of like.
Yeah, kind of like
yeah.
animatronic.
He's very unhinged.
Very unhinged,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
He greets Darius and says, kind of drags him through this very drawn-out process of kind of almost keeping him in the house, not really being very upfront with just giving him the piano. And you find out later that his brother Benny, who played the piano,
He finds him in the basement, basically, and he's like... Anyway,
he's like very sick.
Yeah,
and very
he says
ill.
he's really sick, but, that could...
Throughout the episode, it's very unclear if Benny even exists.
Mm-hmm.
At first, we just think Benny is just a persona made by Teddy, or that Teddy is a persona made by Benny. It's very unclear in the very beginning. And even when we do finally meet Benny in the basement, we kind of assume that it's just Teddy in a disguise. And that's what the main character Darius actually thinks. And he's just like, oh, okay, this is the kind of game we're playing. I need to leave right now. Long story short, in the end, Teddy tries to kill Darius, the main character. And right before the final blow is struck, a Benny appears and everyone is shocked, even Darius, because he's just confused about what's going on. And Benny actually kills his brother Teddy and then kills himself as well. And throughout the episode, there's a whole lot of, I don't know the exact word for this. I'm going to say symbolism, because Teddy Perkins himself is very much based on Michael Jackson. He was a former man of, I don't want to say former man of color. He's still a man of color, but he has very bleached skin. And bleached skin, he has the very long, straight, well, short, straight hair. Long for me, in my opinion. And then he has very different mannerisms. The way he even greets Darius, he kind of puts his arms out.
It's very
like
effeminate as well, like very,
Yeah.
like a high-pitched voice and very like kind of dainty motions almost. Like when he puts both of his hands up to like greet him instead of just going in for a handshake, which I feel would be.
I almost thought, like, in the beginning, when you don't know that the whole skin bleaching thing, that he was almost afraid of people of color, which once you figure out what like actually happened kind of is confusing, because you're like, well, you came from that back. And when he like freaked out about when Darius said that he like knows what he's going through and tried to connect with him, and he's like, no, you don't. Like, why, if he came from that same background, why would he react in that kind of a way?
I feel he did that because he feels that pain throughout the entire episode. He feels that through great pain is great success. So when Darius tries to like say he understands, he doesn't want anyone to understand him, because then Darius could then also attain
other
great
people
success.
are capable of that great success, and that's kind of what he's trying to
I gotcha.
kind of reach the whole episode.
Which again goes back to that Michael Jackson like thought process there too.
Yeah, throughout the episode we learn more about Teddy Perkins and his family. He describes how his father used to beat him and his brother. He says,
There's no way for a child to understand what's at stake. You just wanted the best for us. You wanted the best out of us. It's because of him we have all of this.
So you saying your dad used to beat you so you'd be good at piano?
To be good at life.
I liked how, well, I didn't like, I noticed how in the scene where Teddy is watching the video, it's not Teddy in the video, it's his brother. So
He was saying, I love this song. I
Yeah.
thought that was really
Yeah.
interesting, because he knows that his brother is playing the piano. He's not doing it to his father's expectation, and then his father hits his brother. And I mean, if I saw a video of my father beating or hitting my brother or inflicting
Yeah.
pain on a sibling, like I would not want to subject myself to rewatching, like saying I love this song or anything like that.
actually, he doesn't hit his brother in that scene. He actually hits the piano.
Which is interesting, because that's what Teddy does when
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
when Darius
yeah.
says, I
Yeah,
understand what you're
he
going through.
smacked
He
it.
smashes the piano and there's like a drop of blood on the piano, which I thought was.
I don't think it came from Teddy in that scene. I think it was
Yeah.
from before.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think it, but it was still wet though. Yeah, so I don't
it was
know.
still wet, but it didn't look like it came from Teddy.
No,
because
it
he
didn't
slammed
in that
on
moment.
top of the
Yeah,
clipboard.
yeah.
And the blood was by Darius, so
Yeah.
there was no.
So
way.
it could have actually been from Benny. Like Benny could have been in the room at the time being, but like he pushed him away because like how he was being all weird with the door
Yeah,
being shot and everything.
I think he was beating his brother,
Yeah.
trying to like
I think that.
get another good
Yeah.
record, which he kind of says in the beginning. He's like,
Yeah.
Darius mentions how hard it must be for his brother to live with the condition. He's like, well, hopefully we get a good album out of it.
I wonder if he's killed more people though too, because like why would he just randomly kill the guy coming to get the piano?
He said he wanted him to be a sacrifice.
So we're going to transition into talking about kind of the intersection between certain identities that we see in the episode. Does anyone have something they want to start with?
I could understand a lot of Teddy's background, I guess. My father never like beat gold records out of me or anything, but I definitely was disciplined like physically. Like I don't feel it was on the same level as Teddy, but like if I did something wrong, I definitely got like smacked on the wrist or like on the backside. And like I understand now that like that was supposed to just like teach me like what is right and wrong. And I definitely don't feel my dad or my mom was trying to like do actual physical harm to me. And like this is just how they grew up because they're from like the countryside in Jamaica, and that's just how they do it out there. So
Also, something important is parents act in the best, like, parents try to act in the best way that they think will get the result that they need out of their children.
yeah,
Like, they're acting
definitely.
with their children's best interest. And you could say maybe Benny and Teddy's dad was acting in their best interest, trying to make them better, but it twisted somewhere, I think, where it
Somewhere along the line, it stopped being about the kids and started more being kind of about him because he really wanted them to succeed, and by them succeeding, he succeeded, which I think that's why he started to I don't know when he started, but he really, really wanted them to be good at the piano. I don't know why the piano specifically. It could have been anything. He could have pushed them to be great.
Well, that's what
physical
Darius says. He
athletes or
says
something.
you could be great at other things.
Yeah.
Well, do you think this is like where the whole intersection of disability and race comes in then? Because then you have that stereotypical, like abusive black father trying to get their kid to do right. And then he ends up with this disability of thinking he has to whiten his skin to become anything.
Well, they say he has a rare skin condition, so I don't think he wanted to whiten his skin. Actually, no.
Well, I think
I was
Teddy
Teddy wanted to whiten his
Teddy.
skin. Like after his brother had his skin condition, it seems like Teddy wasn't good at the piano, and he probably got
because
beat
the
a
videos
lot
weren't
worse.
with him at all. Yeah.
So I feel Teddy wasn't good at the piano. He was probably focused more on Benny. Maybe he really wanted his father's attention, and maybe Teddy wasn't beaten at all. Actually,
Yeah, because we don't have any evidence of that.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why he's like, I love that song. But I wonder if that, like, also the disability kind of came in with he wanted to be so much like his father, like the whole piano beating situation. Like, maybe he, after his father passed away or went away, maybe he even killed his father, who knows. But then he started doing that same kind of stuff to his brother
he definitely
once the
started
father wasn't
beating
there.
his brother.
Yeah.
But I feel their their skin condition came in way after, because if you look at the pictures,
That's true.
Benny still looked like he didn't have a skin condition. So I don't think the skin condition had anything to do with their upbringing. If anything, I don't really know. Like the skin condition definitely affected the way Benny could live his life because he needed to rely on his brother or someone, and his brother probably took over his life after he couldn't go outside anymore. He probably didn't want his brother to do that, and because his brother was just making sure no one could get close enough to him to find out that Teddy was doing these horrible things, he kind of went crazy himself and was like, I'd rather die.
I think something we can look into then is like the intersection of colorism and disability, because if we're thinking of it in the way that Teddy wasn't playing the piano, didn't have a skin condition, but his brother did. His brother was playing the piano. His brother had a skin condition and everything. And Benny kind of ended up like lightening his skin and then took on the role of beating his brother. I feel like there's a connection there. I can't quite make it, but I feel like the idea that disability is not.
I think we could also use in that situation what you were talking about before with the emasculation, with the disability and gender. And I also wanted to make a point too. There weren't any women in any of the scenes. So was Teddy supposed to be like the woman per se in the situation, or just because like were they specifically trying to point out like, oh, there's no women in this, or what was their whole point of it being all focused on male characters?
I don't know why there weren't any women in the scene. Who knows? Because like I said, I haven't seen the rest of the show. But I did watch like a director commentary of the director talking about like this, like the house, and the house itself was supposed to be like sort of a character, and that's why you see Darius exploring it. And I don't feel Teddy was supposed to be like the woman in this show. Like he was definitely unhinged and very creepy and doll-like, but I don't think they were trying to like relate him to a woman or at all. It was just these are very creepy factors, and the director kind of described using the darkness of the room and like how bleached his face was to like make it seem like his face was always like floating.
Yeah, like he was the light in the darkness kind of thing, which yeah, I was trying to figure out the whole time what that whole like what the meaning of everything being so dark was. And wasn't there like a light on his brother too when they went in the basement? Like it was kind of dark and creepy, but then once he found the brother, it was like another light. And then the light would shine through from outside when they were in that front hallway part.
In terms of that, I think the interesting thing with the light is that in all the scenes where Benny isn't, the light is very white. It's a very bright, like pure light, kind of. And then when Darius is in the basement, the light is yellow and very like
and when
artificial.
He comes out of the elevator,
Well, specifically, the director said that they were trying to like allude to like 70s horror.
Oh, okay.
Which is why like the scenes were shot that way, and like even the recording was actually filmed on a Super 8 camera, and it's like actually just really old looking, and they wanted it to be dark because that's just kind of more scarier, and for lore explanations, he keeps it dark because his brother can't have the light. That's why if you look in the scenes, like all the windows are covered up in newspaper. So like
like he's moving, and too like it kind of that going back on how you said you wanted to change it into a museum, and then getting rid of this piano. Like I wonder why the piano was what he picked to try to get rid of.
Well, I feel it's just I don't think he really wanted to get rid of the piano.
Yeah,
he just wanted to draw someone in.
Yeah,
and the piano is just such a good
get.
Like a free piano.
Yeah, with the colored keys, like you can't forget about that.
Played by Benny Hope, who was supposed to be a famous person. Like,
but Darius didn't even know.
Yeah,
who
he didn't
Benny
know
Hope
him.
was.
Yeah.
Darius didn't know who Benny Hope was because he probably just wasn't into that kind of music.
That's true because they had that whole thing about the music in the first place with the art or with the rap music and how Teddy was like, that's like
it hasn't
old
left
school.
Its adolescence.
Yeah.
That has in them. I really understood that sort of conversation because I hear that a lot where people's like, oh, rap is inadequate as an art form, or it's just hooting and hollering. I'm like, I personally think all music is about three things: sorrow, sex, and shmoney. That's it. Every song you've ever heard of is about one of those three things. So for people to just be like, oh, rap is about having a good time, it's like, so is all music. Congratulations, you figured it out.
Yeah.
All right, so turning to focus to maybe disability and race and gender and that intersection, I think it's very important to note that Teddy does display signs of mental illness, and as assumedly based on his childhood and kind of manifesting from that. So I think it's important to note that men, specifically men of color, as shown by statistics that we have here, don't normally seek out mental health care as often or as readily as other gender, race intersections might.
I do want to make one last point with the intersection of race and disability, how they play Stevie Wonder songs both at the beginning and the end of the episode and make they refer to him throughout the episode. And that I saw that as them highlighting both the race of Stevie Wonder and his disability of being blind.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie had his own sacrifices. He was blind.
Yeah, but he wasn't blinded.
And kind of attributing that to Teddy Perkins in a way. What do you guys think of that?
Well, personally, it is true that like Stevie Wonder is famous for being a pianist who is blind, and I feel like that was also much allusion to his brother Benny, who was, you know, another man of color who's really into playing the piano. He had a disability, so them using Stevie Wonder was probably drawing parallels to that. And at the very end, they talked about his blindness being like
his sacrifice.
Yeah, it was his sacrifice.
Yeah.
It was, while Teddy thought that was his great pain and that's why he was succeeding, Darius saw that as like his way of overcoming his disability. He's like, all right, I'm blind, but like I'm not gonna let that hold me down. Like I'm gonna use it like as my happiness instead.
I think the episode just focuses on all these different identities and how they intersect, but also it kind of comes down to the difference between pain and success, and how pain and love creating success. And that's kind of what Darius wants to show Teddy before he eventually dies.
Well, thank you all for listening to our first podcast. We are the intersectional. I forgot the name of our group already.
We're the Intersectional Exchange Program. Thank you all for being here.
Program, yes. Thank you all for listening. If you have any interesting comments or points you want to make to us, feel free to reach out to us.
And join us next time.